The Detroit Tigers win a ball game in the most Detroit Tigers way, the most 2022 Detroit Tigers way you could possibly imagine. Let's talk about the, I guess, technically series finale, right? 2 game set against San Francisco today on Locked On Tigers.
You are Locked On Tigers, your daily Detroit Tigers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of Locked On Tigers. I am, of course, your host, Scott Bentley. Today is Thursday, August 25th, 2022. Thank you for making Locked On Tigers your first listen every single day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts, including YouTube. The Detroit Tigers are no longer 30 games under 500, baby. I almost said that one with a straight face. I almost did it. Now are up to 48-77. No longer are your Detroit Tigers 30 games under 500. No more. They win in Comerica against San Francisco on Wednesday afternoon by a score of 6-1. Both teams had 8 hits. Tigers scored all 6 of their runs in 1 inning. Look, like, this was the most Detroit Tigers victory of all time. And like, the 6 runs, certainly not, but how they obtained the 6 runs, certainly yes. Spot on. They probably should have gotten shut out. This probably should have been a 1-0 ball game. But Brandon Crawford, who is one of the best defensive shortstops of this generation, we need to realize that Brandon Crawford is not a slouch with the glove. Multiple Gold Glove winner. I think multiple. He's definitely bagged one. But he is undoubtedly, he is one of the best defensive shortstops of the 2010s. And seeing him just go and completely misplay a ball that really was not, I don't know, optically it didn't look that difficult. Like, the hop definitely caught him off guard, or he planned for the hop and he just played it incorrectly, I guess I should say. But yeah, I was very surprised he wasn't able to make the play. And then, just as things happen, we've seen it happen to the Tigers so often this year, right? Like, one error is made with 2 outs and then they score, 3-4 runs in the inning. It just happened against the Guardians last week, right? That crazy Andrew Chafin drop third strike game. Like, that's baseball. That's what happens. And it's really upsetting, honestly, for Logan Webb, who pitched a very, very good ball game. And I believe all those runs are earned. I think they gave him a hit. I don't think they gave an error to Brandon Crawford. So, yeah, that's dude had a no-hitter going with I think with 4 2/3 pitched, at least through 4 innings. I guess I should say he had a no-hitter going and ended his line with 4 2/3, 5 hits, 6 earned runs, 3 walks, and 6 Ks. Certainly not great. But I did think he looked pretty solid. Look, the offense, like, these games are so difficult for me because I don't want to be the insane pessimist that is just like, this team sucks and there's nothing good about it. But also, like, this is a train wreck of a season, and it is impossible to, for me at least, maybe not for you, but for me, it's impossible to just watch this team and talk for 30 minutes about this team every single day and be like, oh, the sun is shining and rainbows. Like, this has been a train wreck of a year. It's impossible to be like overly optimistic and be super happy about games that we even do win. And we should have got shut out. Like, we should have. We had 8 hits. Almost all of them came in the 6th inning. I mean, it was one really, really solid defender and one of the better shortstops of the previous decade. It was him making a play that he's probably made 20 times, 30 times in his career, those weird like in between hops. And we're shut out. We scored all of our runs in one inning. The last two games, the last 18 innings, we have scored all of our runs that we've scored in the last two games in 2 innings. Now, that's 7 runs, but you did it in 2 of 18 innings. This wasn't some incredible offensive performance. Honestly, that again, they were getting no hit through 4. The first half of the game, they didn't have a hit. They didn't look that good offensively. I'm going to be completely honest with you. They didn't. They didn't look that good before the inning. They didn't even look great, really, in the inning. They started drawing walks and got a little patient. And then they did get some, but they weren't even like crushing the ball. Like it was, decently hit, solid contact, I guess, for sure. But there's still no power on this team. There's still very little patience on this team outside of apparently 1 inning a day. Every single day, they just pick 1 inning to be patient in, and that's where all their walks come from. It's just today was no different. Even though we put up 6 runs, I'm not sure we've put up 6 runs in an inning since the day that Miggy hit 3K, but I wasn't like blown away. I wasn't impressed by this offensive performance. It's just for 1 inning, they did what they had to do and they deserve credit. But everything after wasn't that great, and everything before it was certainly not great. I don't know, man. Like I said, it's hard to walk that line. I don't want to be the homer that can't give objective analysis, but I also don't want to be the crazy pessimist in a year where everybody's a crazy pessimist. Like I'm trying to find bright spots, and I'll always take a win. I want us to win out. I don't care about a draft pick anymore. I'm done with that. It didn't work. We've been doing it for 7 years. I would be thrilled if they won out. They obviously won't, but it's the sentiment. It's the mindset. I want us to win every game we play, always, and have for my entire life. But it's hard to look at this game and watch this offensive and watch what they did today and yesterday as you're listening to this and be like, oh yeah, like heck yeah, 6 runs. Maybe things are changing. No, we looked the same we always have. We kind of got lucky for an inning. I don't know. All right, let's talk about the pitching because that actually is quickly turning into one of the best storylines of the entire season. So let's get into that. But first, I got to talk to you about driving sober from the NHTSA. You're hanging out with some friends, putting back a few drinks. Few becomes a few too many. And as the evening comes to an end and people start to head out, you think of calling for a ride. Nah, you live nearby. You can make it home okay. It's no big deal. What are the odds you'll get pulled over anyway? And even so, what's the worst that could happen? Your insurance goes up, you lose your license, you lose your job, you total your car, you kill someone. Everyone knows about the risks of driving drunk. The results are tragic and often deadly. However, that still doesn't stop everyone from getting behind the wheel while under the influence. That's why police officers are out there right now looking for impaired drivers on our roads to save lives. So, if you think you're okay to drive after a few drinks, think again. Play it safe and plan ahead to get a ride. It only takes one mistake to change your life or someone else's forever. Drive sober or get pulled over. All right, everybody. Welcome back here. Segment 2 of Locked On Tigers. Thank you for making us your first listen every day. Free and available wherever you get your podcasts, including YouTube. Okay, let's get into the pitching because this is incredible. Matt Manning's ERA on the season is now 2.37. I believe that's in 9 starts on the year. That might even be Anyway, 2.37 ERA on the season. And his ERA since coming back from injury is under 2. He has made 7 starts. I just figured out while I was talking because the Tigers PR department tweeted out Tiger starters since the year 2000 with no more than 10 runs allowed in their first 7 starts of a season. He Matthew Manning joins company of Matthew Boyd, Jordan Zimmerman, Max Scherzer, and Justin Verlander. Heck of a list. Matthew Boyd's was just last season, got off to that really hot start last year, as we all remember. Jordan Zimmerman's was also in the beginning part of 2016, as we all remember. I'm pretty sure he won Pitcher of the Month in May of 2016, the first year we signed him. It was either April or May. He had like a sub 2 ERA or a 2 ERA and was literally the Pitcher of the Month in baseball, I'm pretty sure. And then we all know what happened after that. Then we have Max Scherzer in 2014, who only gave up 9 runs as opposed to 10 like the other 3. And Justin Verlander in 2013, who also only gave up 9 runs. So a very impressive start to Matt Manning's season, I guess you would say. I guess start probably isn't the right word, but he's looked phenomenal. And this, in my opinion, was, and I feel like I've said this like 3 starts in a row, but this was maybe the best I've seen Matt Manning look so far in his career. And I know that he didn't go 7 innings like last time and whatnot, but this was a slider masterclass. So the 4-seam fastball was effective for him, and it was located really well. CSW percentage of 30%. That's called strikes plus whiffs. 4 whiffs on it. It was a solid pitch. He threw it 44 times of 95. It was his most thrown pitch. Average exit velocity on the 4-seamer was 92. It was solid. It got hit hard sometimes. It got hit weakly sometimes. It was a solid setup pitch. But the pitch we really need to talk about is the slider because it was phenomenal. And it was almost like he has 3 different pitches, even though he only really threw 2. He did throw 9 curveballs, 5 sinkers, and 4 changeups as well. But those combine for quick math, 9 plus 5, 14, 18. Those 3 pitches combined were only 18% of his repertoire today, whereas the 4-seam was 46% of the time. The slider was 35% of the time. So definitely those 2 for the majority of it. At one point, he was rocking with more sliders than any other pitch thrown. And it was, like I said, it was almost like he had 3 different pitches in there because he used the slider as a slider, sometimes as a traditional slider, throw the fastball low and away. His fastball command today, by the way, was spectacular. It was beautiful. Was painting corners with the 4-seam all game. Made a couple of mistakes, but as a whole, was really, really effective with the 4-seam fastball. And this slider, like I said, so I've been trying to make this point. My ADHD just keeps taking me off the rails. The slider he used as an actual slider for sure. Would set the 4-seam up low and away, then would tunnel the slider low and away, get people to chase. Even elevated it and would throw fastball high, get them to swing and miss. Then throw slider like belt high, but out of the strike zone, get people to swing and miss as well. But then he started at one point using it almost as a cutter. Where, like, I mean, the average, it was an 87 mile an hour pitch on average. 84 on average, topped out at 87. So 84 mile an hour cutter, that's like, I guess it can be an in-between between like a traditional slider maybe and a mid-90s fastball. But like that's a solid slider velocity in 2022, right? So he started using it as a cutter and like, he would throw it first pitch and get people to swing through it. And he would throw it. He would start it on the inside part of the strike zone. And then it would move into the inner third of the zone by the end of it, almost down the middle of the plate. But people were swinging through it because, again, they're not expecting him to throw this like cutter pitch on the inside part of the plate like that, because that's usually a fastball pitch for him. So just the creativity, I guess, of the pitch calling by Barnhart. I know that everybody loves to give Tucker Barnhart a lot of crap. He has not hit very well. That's absolutely true. But I thought he called a brilliant game, and I thought Matt Manning executed it spectacularly. This is, if it's not his best, it's my favorite. He goes 6 innings, 5 hits, no earned runs, no walks, and 8 strikeouts. Fantastic start. Like I said, since coming back from the injury as a sub-2 ERA, and on the year as a whole, he has a 2.37, ended up throwing 95 pitches. And look, if it wasn't for the first inning, he might still be pitching. I'm recording this an hour after the game. He might still be going, right? It was just the first inning was almost 30 pitches, 27 pitches on its own in the first. Every inning after that was pretty effective. And young pitchers, a big step in development is what they do with runners in scoring position. He stranded 4 runners on third base. And I know that maybe you first listen to that and you're like, that's not a good thing. Runners were getting to third. No, they were like BABIP hits or like a leadoff double, and then it's strikeout, ground out, or it's strikeout, ground out or something, right? Like he is it wasn't like he had bases loaded every time. Like one per runner would get on, and then there would be some ground outs to the opposite side of the field that whatever the runner was on, and they would advance. And then he would lock down and get a strikeout or get a ground out with 2 outs. Like it was so well executed. It was a brilliant performance. And again, in a season where there has not been a lot of bright spots, Matt Manning has certainly been one this season, and especially now that he's healthy. Look, I don't want to get ahead of myself because he's still very young and there's still a lot of season left and whatnot. But it's finally starting to look like he is putting the pieces together to be that solid. Whether you think he's going to be an ace or not is up for debate, but front line, at least top 3 in a rotation starter that we all assumed he would be for the last 5 years while he's been cooking in the minor leagues, right? It's finally starting to come to fruition at the major league level. It's exciting. It's exciting in a season that has not had a lot of excitement, like I keep saying. So very, very good performance. I love that creativity of using the slider. It's the same pitch, but it's different pitches, right? Like it's still a slider, but in some pitches he's using it as a traditional slider, and at some pitches he's using it as more of a cut pitch, and it's awesome. I absolutely love it. And if he can continue doing that, that gives him like 2.5 pitches, or we just call it 3. And if he can just get one more grip, that's good, we'll say, instead of pitch, that he can be confident, whether it ends up being the changeup, whether it ends up being the curveball, whatever. I think we're in for a really, really fun ride. And I think that this dude could be really, really good going forward if he's not already showing signs of being really good as he currently stands. Very excited for Matt Manning. Very excited about his future. Pumped to see what he can do as we continue going forward. And yeah, I just can't wait until we have a full. I mean, like next year, like you're going to get Turnbull back. You'll have Skubal by hopefully the halfway mark in the season. You'll definitely have him for the second part of the year. Like it's just the pitching isn't the problem. It's the fact that no one on this team can hit a baseball. That's the issue. The pitching continues to show out, and the pitchers themselves and Fetter deserve all the credit in the world. Okay, let's get to the bullpen, and then we'll get into some the 2023 roster. 2023 schedule was released, so we're going to talk about that for a hot sec as well. But first, I have to tell you about whatever Locked On wants me to tell you about. So we will be back right after this. All right, everybody. Welcome back for segment 3 here. Locked On Tigers, third and final segment. Okay, let's talk about the bullpen. Will Vest, 1 inning, 3 hits, 1 earned run, no walks, 2 Ks. He's got such good stuff, and it's just a command thing with him. It always has been. But, I mean, his ERA in the year is now up to 3.86, right? There was a 1 point in the first half of the season where he had a sub-2 and people were overreacting to Gregory Soto as they usually do. And Will Vest was the person a lot of people were pointing to because he got that save against Baltimore and everybody was like, oh, Will Vest should be the closer. He's got some command stuff he still needs to work on, but the stuff is undeniably there. His slider has really good bite to it. It's a really good shape. His four seam fastball, 95, 96 miles an hour. He has all the makings to be good. And he has three pitches, like the changeup is solid too. He's got the makeup, he's got the profile. It's just a matter of execution from here on out. So I'm hoping that he will stick around. I'm totally okay with Will Vest sticking around in the organization and being a part of this bullpen next year as well. And like I said, need him to take some steps forward command wise, but as a whole, he is his stuff is going to play. Especially if Will Vest is your like fourth best reliever on your team, you're in a pretty good situation, I think. So definitely not his best outing. Again, a lot of command stuff, but as a whole, pleased with him this season. Alex Lang then comes in, 1 inning, 1 walk, 1 hit batter, and 2 strikeouts. His ERA is now down to 3.65. I mean, kind of a duplicate conversation, but like Alex Lang's is on steroids, right? Like Alex Lang, for honestly, and I don't mean this in an exaggerating way, might have the best pure stuff in any bullpen in the league. His curveball is one of the most whiffed on pitches in the entire sport. And honestly, for a majority of the year, has been the most whiffed on pitch in the majority of the sport. His stuff is nasty. He is one of the nastiest sinkers I've ever seen in my life. He has a sinker so nasty that it's not a pitch to contact pitch. It takes an incredible amount of movement to do that. So Alex Lang is unbelievably talented. Super pumped for him to be in the bullpen of the future. But also has his command issues that he needs to work on. Like I said, 1 walk and 1 hit batter in this one, but didn't end up giving up any runs. We'll take it. And then Gregory Soto, 1 inning, 1 walk, 1 K, no runs. 4-pitch walk to lead off the inning is just so frustrating and unacceptable. Like I know he got out of it. And he gets out of it more times than not. And I still believe in the future of Gregory Soto, as a lot of people already don't. But like ERA is down to sub-3 again. He just needs to get out of his own way. You can't be 4-pitch walking the first people out of the pen, man. You had a 5-run lead, and no one was really worried today, but you gotta just buckle down. You have to. You have to. So definitely another conversation going forward. We have a lot of very intriguing conversations to have this offseason. That is for sure about a lot of players on this team. Okay, that's it for the game. Solid win. Not really that solid, but I will always take a win. I want us to win every game. So I'm going to be happy. We're going to be pumped that we got a win. And one of our highly regarded prospects / young players look fantastic. So that's great. As far as news and notes, Jackson Jobe was supposed to make his Whitecaps debut on Wednesday. He did not do that because he quite literally woke up on the wrong side of the bed and was sore, and they wanted to play it safe. Now, I know it's going to be a big joke, and I understand that, and people are going to have their fun with that one. But they're just being super precautionary. He's going to start this weekend. He's going to make his debut. He's not like going on the IL because you know what I mean? Like his back hurt a little bit, whatever. Speaking of backs hurting, Javi Baez got scratched very late, right before the game started on Wednesday, which caused Kerry Carpenter, which caused Cody Clemens. I don't know why I couldn't remember his name there. Cody Clemens to be our 3-hitter in that game, which I'm sure is not exactly what AJ Hinch drew up, but late scratches will do that. He was taking BP and his back spasms, taking BP and doing fielding drills and stuff before the game, and said his back was uncomfortable. So he's not playing. He's considered day-to-day. We already talked about Zach Short for Jonathan Scope. So I think that's it for news and notes. MLB released their 2023 schedule today. I'm not a big schedule release person for any sport except football because baseball, you play 162 games. I know who we're playing every year. And in basketball and hockey, you play everybody. So it's like, whatever, like I don't care when we play people. I know we're going to play everybody. Um, the biggest thing is that they are playing everybody for baseball now. That's the big step. That's never been a thing before. And yeah, starting next season, you will play all 29 other teams, which I think is cool. I think that helps grow the game. I think that that's something that honestly should have been implemented a while ago, but baseball is kind of a traditionalist, old head sport. And I'm sure that they've always just been a little bit behind everybody else when it comes to like, hey man, we have like planes that can get us from like Michigan to Arizona in 4 hours. Like we don't need, you know what I mean? Like it's not impossible. It's not a week trek to get out there anymore. Like we can visit all 29 teams. So super cool. I'm very, very pumped about it. When we play everybody and tough stretches and stuff, we'll look at that as we get closer to actually next season. I'm not one for getting, a year ahead of myself when it comes to that kind of stuff, but just super cool that we're going to be playing everybody. I'm really, really pumped about that. So we will slowly be playing our division less and less. We will still be playing our division more than anybody else, but everybody will be playing the teams in their division less and less, and instead be playing every other team in the game of baseball. So super cool stuff. I think 22 or 23 different teams will play in Comerica Park next year. So we have almost everybody, right about 2/3 of the league, a little over 2/3 of the league will have a game in Comerica. Super cool. Super cool. A lot of people that there's always been, oh, they're in the National League, we're not going to see them. Then the Astros moved to the American League, and it was like, okay, well, now we're going to make interleague play kind of not like, oh, for 3 weeks of the year, it's interleague play. It's not like a special thing anymore. We're just going to have mixed in, you're just going to play National League teams. And then it started getting more and more like, hey, we're going to pair you up with some divisions every year, and that's who you're going to play. And now it's, to a point where they're just like, hey, we think it's probably best if you just play everybody. And I'm totally for it. I absolutely love it. I don't really see any repercussions for it. Oh, the other thing I really want to quickly bring up, speaking of no repercussions for it, is a pitch clock. Minor League Baseball has been experimenting with a pitch clock this season. And somebody tweeted out, a lot of people tweeted out some stats involving how the minor leagues have changed with the implementation, goodness, of the pitch clock. I have seen it live a few times to a couple of the minor league games I've been to this summer, and it does not. If you can see the clock, you're like, oh, there's the pitch clock, but it doesn't change your viewing experience at all. If you don't pitch it in time, it's just a ball rewarded, and there haven't been that many like walks given out on due to it, right? Like it's been pretty. Everyone's adjusted pretty well. All the offensive numbers in the minor leagues have been almost identical to last season. All of the pitching numbers from last season's minor leagues have been almost identical to this season. Because that was the big worry, right? They're like, oh, you're going to rush pitchers. They're going to be sporadic. They're not going to have as good of command. You're going to throw people out of their rhythm. Somebody tweeted out all the stats, and all of the pretty much like offensive and pitching, like all of the offensive stats are almost identical to what they were last season. Some of them literally are identical. The walk percentage from in minor league baseball from 2021 to 2022 is literally the exact same. And the only thing that's changed is games are now going by almost 40 minutes, almost 30 minutes, I think, quicker. Average game time last season was a little over 3 hours, and for minor league baseball, and average game time for minor league baseball this year is about 2.5 hours. I think you will see it in the major leagues very soon. And I don't think anyone should really have a problem with it. I think it's going to be kind of like the extended netting. It'll be something that like people freak out about for like 2 weeks when the season starts. And they're like, oh, this is dumb. Oh, look, here's the first ball rewarded. Everybody, let's freak out. And then you literally won't notice it the remainder of the season. After like May, no one will care and no one will remember that's even a thing. Just like the extended netting when that first happened and everything. or the mound visits remaining. Like everybody freaked out when that started. Like nobody uses up all their mound visits. Nobody cares. Like there are some things that people are just going to get mad about, but just want to touch on that. I think that's a cool thing. It's worked brilliantly. Like I said, every game I've been to, it's worked flawlessly. And I think it's an actual concrete, like good thing that will directly, objectively shorten game time and not affect the rest of the game, like all these other ridiculous Manfred ideas that he has to shorten pace of, to improve pace of play. When in actuality, this is the easiest, most concrete, and most mutually beneficial answer is just the pitch clock. So look for that in the future. That's all I got for you. Peace and love. Let me do a sign off. Thanks for making Locked On Tigers your first listen every day. Now make your second listen the Locked On MLB podcast. MLB expert Paul Francis Sullivan brings humor, passion, and unique perspective on every team and the biggest stories from around the league. Follow the #1 daily league-wide podcast, Locked On MLB, on the Odyssey app, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcast. Now that's all I got for you. Yeah, we'll be back tomorrow. Another off day tomorrow. So we'll figure out what we're doing for that. In the meantime, though, peace and love. Going to therapy's dope. Going to therapy's dope. Don't you forget it. Dope. Mental health is a real thing. Mental health matters. And yeah, take care of yours. Peace and love. Going to therapy's dope. I'll catch y'all tomorrow, baby. Go Tigers.